DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to talk Big 12 football with Barry Tramel. Barry, good morning.
Well, guys, how you doing? I thought there was a time earlier in this week when I literally thought this was going to be like a therapy session for me, and like maybe some sort of memorial service. I mean, I'm sitting around, I can't remember where I was at, and I heard the news. Kalani Sitake might be going to Penn State.
Wow.
I mean, what in the world is going on?
Totally. But yet, I spoke to people on the staff. Their bags, metaphorically, were packed. They thought it was going to happen, and then somebody else, a prominent name, told me that the decision was made right at the buzzer.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I can't even fathom a world in which that could even be a possibility. I literally thought this is not something that the sport can come back from. This is not something that, if Kalani Sitake is susceptible to the fever that grips every big-time coach in America, there's no hope for us all. I mean, were you guys stunned at this? I mean, this is like an alternative universe or something. I didn't understand that at all.
I get what you're saying. It was, in the movies when in it's a sci-fi movie when they put on the glasses and the whole world looks different. That's what it felt like to me. Because on the one hand, Kalani played football at BYU, and he was an assistant coach at Utah and the defensive coordinator, and he's been at BYU for a decade. I mean, he's a Utah guy through and through, and Utah guys who are through and through, they don't leave Utah unless they absolutely positively have to, and then they usually come back. So at first, I'm thinking there's no way. But then I think what you thought, it's like Penn State's desperate, and Kalani is winning. He is 22-3. Now, I wouldn't think Penn State would get their coach from the other side of the country. Some people are, Urban Meyer could live anywhere and just chameleon and just make the move and whatever. But not a lot of coaches are wired like that. So for Penn State to go out and hire a coach who's never been on that side of the country professionally, that seemed crazy.
Yeah.
And Kalani seems embedded here.
That's what I think. I mean, I told my radio guys here, I said, there's never been a coach more perfectly suited for a particular job than Kalani Sitake and Brigham Young. That's it right there. That's the model for everybody. Go find a coach who fits like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what Penn State needs to do. That's what Oklahoma needs to do. Kansas State, Georgia Tech, Wisconsin Whitewater, Northern Arizona. Everybody needs to look for that. That's the ideal. And yet, Kalani may go to Penn State.
Well, I think
what is going on?
I think a little history lesson is involved here, and thanks for throwing in Northern Arizona. I spent my first 2 years out of high school before transferring to ASU,
a place! What a place
to Northern Arizona. I think that, and it's something that you may be able to write on and certainly speak on down the line, because I think it'd be interesting now that BYU's big time and all that, is that BYU it's obviously it's a religious sponsored institution, and the idea being that it is almost to the point of a religious calling, and they used to take great pride in a warped way of underpaying their people because they would get all sorts of spiritual blessings by working at BYU. And we had Lavelle Edwards on our show long after he retired, and Lavelle it's unbelievable to think this, after each game, he'd go up to the press box and not only do the post-game show, but take a call-in show. And they would call in. And I used to listen to it, and some of the idiots who would call in, and Lavelle he is the patron saint of Latter-day Saint patience.
Nobody had more patience than Lavelle.
Right. And he was retired at this point, right? And we were laughing with him, and he's like a year or two away from actually passing. And he said, well, I had to do the show because they paid me $75 a show. right? And that, of course, that elicited a laugh, and he laughed when he said it. But and Val Hale, the old athletic director, tells a story of one of his predecessors. I don't remember what it is. And the predecessor goes to the university president and says that now your contract is confidential and you cannot speak it to anyone. And the athletic director says to the president, "Don't worry, President. I'm just as embarrassed about it as you are." And those are the stories that are out there. And so plus BYU has a hierarchy. You got guys in. The athletic director does not report directly to the president. There's a go-between. And I don't know about the new guy, but I've heard in the past these guys were just wannabe dudes who wanted to slap guys on the butt and say, "Hey, I know who Danny Ainge is, and Danny Ainge knows who I am, so aren't I cool?" And when he goes to church on Sunday, he can tell BYU stories, and he gets a little publicity, and he gets a little separation from the humdrum life that we all live, right? So all those things going on there, BYU needed to raise the money up, not just for Kalani's salary, but for everything. And that forced him to seriously entertain the Penn State thing. And one of the things he said at the press conference, and DJ and I were both there, as was Jake, our producer, all three of us were there, and he said, "I'm a competitor." And what he was saying when he said, "I'm a competitor," is I needed the money to be able to win at the highest level. He can't say this, but I've also been told that Texas Tech defensive line makes almost as much as the whole BYU team. So he couldn't say all that stuff, but he forces BYU to up the ante, and that's why he was seriously entertaining it. If BYU forced him to take it, he would have, but then they came back and upped everything involved in funding a football program, so he took it. And I think if you have that understanding and that background, it's easier to understand why it almost came to pass, but in the end didn't, because of the reasons you just said, Barry.
Well, so alleviate my fears. So BYU came through, and with the promises of sort of modernizing the pay scale. Is that right? And
just outfitting the program. But, yes, pay, of course, being a direct line to it. But his assistants, the DJ speak about somebody reported
$10 to $15 million in NIL money, because it sounds like the House settlement is going to fall apart and it's going to remain the wild, wild west, because the enforcement only happens if everybody signs, and apparently everybody isn't going to sign.
Yeah, well, nobody saw that coming at all. But, well, okay. Well, I feel better about the world in general. My worldview is better than it was 2 days ago or 3 days ago.
The stories of football coaches who have the leverage, having to leverage people at BYU, and it's multiple people to sign off on whatever the project is, whether it's raising NIL money or building an indoor practice facility. It comes down to the football coach saying, "Hey, we've got to spend the money." And it usually, stamping of feet and throwing of fists in the air. And there's a story about Lavelle standing up and asking the question, because he's the one who had the stature to do it. "Hey, we got to have an indoor facility." Now, Barry, you came here. You took the time to fly from Oklahoma to Utah, and you were in studio with us when the Thunder were in the playoffs playing the Jazz, and you went down to write about BYU joining the league, and you saw all the facilities, but those did not just happen. Like that indoor facility, I think of that story of Lavelle every time, and we were just there the other night. Every time we go by that indoor facility, I think that Lavelle had to stand up and say, "Hey, are we doing this? We got to do this." And it comes down to the football coach is the one who usually has to do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry it has to come to that, but I'm pleased that the world didn't go cuckoo, because Kalani Sitake coaching at Penn State would go cuckoo. You know what it made me discover? I told the guys down here, I'm going to become a Penn State fan. If Kalani Sitake goes to Penn State, I'll be cheering for Penn State. That's how bad this is.
Yeah. And
let me tell you what, I never thought I'd see the day where I would consider cheering for Penn State. But now my whole worldview on college football is just determined, well, do I like this team? Do I like that team? It's all based on who's coaching the dang team now.
Yeah. Right.
Like for 8 years, 7 years, I don't know. couldn't stand Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher was clearly just a bumbling fool, but all of a sudden Mike Elko's the coach. He's no nonsense. He's not a kook. I don't mind Texas A&M. You know what would be the coolest thing in the world?
Yes.
If Ole Miss won the national title this year. That would be the coolest thing in the world.
You think
I'll be cheering for the Rebels the whole way.
That would be a rebel move.
Wow, that'd be a Steve Fisher Michigan basketball from 35 years ago.
That's it. But, I wouldn't have said that a week ago or whenever. So it's just madness. The whole thing is just madness. Madness, madness, madness.
Big 12 title game coming up. And there is a notion here that, and we just had Brian Santiago, the athletic director for BYU, on, and there's this notion that, hey, they are much healthier now than they were when they played him the first time. That could be a big difference. That game was on campus at Texas Tech, and they had the national pregame show there, whooping them up for 3 hours, just getting them just crazed. And there were tiny little patches of blue. The minimum they could do is what they did to fit all their fans in and keep BYU fans out. This will be different. However, and I think you can speak to this, on the one hand, Texas Tech doesn't have as much to play for because they should be in win or lose, and BYU is only in if they win. But the motivation, Texas Tech has been down for so long, and the whole town knows it. And so no matter where these players and coaches go, no matter how long they've been on campus, they're hearing about the last 10, 20, 30 years, and you got to get this. How motivated and how big a deal is this to Texas Tech?
Well, it's a big deal, and they're being highly motivated. It's similar to what I think you will see in the Big Ten title game with Indiana being I'm not saying Tech's more motivated than Brigham Young, but Indiana will be more motivated than Ohio State because, frankly, the Buckeyes, their fans don't really care what happens in Indianapolis. They want to beat Michigan. They want to win the national title. So, but Indiana, they got a sordid history, not much going on. It's a big deal. And while Texas Tech is not anywhere close to Indiana's degree of utility, it's not all that rosy. I mean, they've been in one major bowl in the entire history of the program. One. And even that was with an asterisk. In 1994, Texas A&M wins the Southwest Conference but is on probation, can't go to the Cotton Bowl. The Southwest Conference, second place, five-way tie. And Texas Tech wins the five-way tie with a 6-5 overall record. That's the one Cotton Bowl they'd been to, and that was the first rendition of the Cotton Bowl being major. So this is not a program. They've never made it to Arlington. This is their first Big 12 title game. So it's a big deal. DFW is full of Tech grads. DFW is full of everybody grads, but they got a lot of Tech grads. I think it'll be one of the more rousing atmospheres because I know the BYU people will show up and show out, and Texas Tech will jam it to the rafters. So I think it's going to be a really cool atmosphere. You think the playoff? Clearly, Tech will be motivated. Listen, I think Tech's going to get a bye if they win this game.
I think they have to. Yeah, I would agree with that 100%.
So, I mean, they're going to. Well, in fact, they got up to fourth, right? I think they got to fourth, right?
Yeah, they would have to.
We know they are. So it's a big game. It's a cool game. It's not, the SEC's playing a game they really wish they didn't have to play. But that's not the way it is in the Big 12. Both teams playing for a lot. Just forget the playoff. This is a big game just for Tech, who wants to win this and get the trophy. And BYU, I assume the same way. I mean, you guys were lost. The Cougars were lost in the wilderness of independence for so long. Before that, which was really cool conferences, but not terribly national in profile. And then all of a sudden, in their third year in the league, they could win the trophy. Last year, could have if tiebreakers had fallen a little bit different. So, I mean, I think it's a great, independent of the playoff, I think the Big 12 championship game is a really cool spectacle. It's in a great venue. I know it's a long way from Provo to Arlington, but that doesn't really stop BYU fans. So I think it's even a pretty good neutral site type situation, even though geography screams otherwise. So I like everything about this game. This is a reason you have these games. The Big 12, everybody talks about they need to get rid of these games, or maybe not get rid of them, because it's just really cool to play a football game that I think is going to mean so much to both places.
How much do you think the college football committee is over there silently hoping Texas Tech kicks the crap out of them, because they're going to have to put in – I can't imagine that they don't put in Tech, win or lose, unless they got beat 70-7, and they're hoping that BYU loses so they can look at it and say, see, because it looks like BYU is being disrespected, again, for the second year in a row.
Maybe, but how about this? What if they're secretly hoping the Cougars win so they wash their hands of this Miami-Notre Dame mess? And the answer is neither. Remember the old Deion Sanders, Jerry Jones commercials, Pizza Hut. Which do you want? Offense or defense, baseball or football, pepperoni or sausage? And the answer is both. Well, how about if the answer is neither? Notre Dame, Miami? How about both?
Yeah,
how about neither?
I still
BYU
think
wins, and away they go.
I think they catch heat if Notre Dame is out. Then they'll say, why put in Texas Tech, who they beat?
Yeah, I think Tech's in.
I think they should be too, but I'm just saying.
I think they will be.
The blowback on Notre Dame would be bigger than the blowback on BYU not getting in.
I actually don't buy any of the conspiracy or even the psychological theories. I don't think the voters care about that. I think a lot of them are blockheads when it comes to football, but I don't think they're psychologically messed up. I really don't. I just I think they are. They look at the world. They look at this football analysis wrong. But I don't think they're sitting there thinking about matchups. I don't think they're sitting there thinking about do we really want to get Notre Dame on our bad side? Because here's the deal. For there to be a true conspiracy, and I'm not saying you're saying there's a conspiracy, but a lot of people say, well, they're trying to avoid rematches, or they're trying to set it up for next week, blah, blah, blah. I don't think there's 1 second of discussion about that. Because if there were, the only way that keeps quiet is if all 13 people voting and all 3 or 4 staff members of the CFP sitting around watching the voting, is if everyone in that room agrees. Because if there's any kind of discrepancy, if there's any kind of untoward behavior against the protocols, if they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, I think somebody would squeal. I think somebody would stand up and go to the media and say, hey, here's what they did, and that's not right. That's not what we're supposed to do. You got to get everybody on the same page if you're going to have that's why I don't believe in the JFK stuff. Somebody would have said something. People like to talk. So I don't think they're doing anything ethically wrong. I just think sometimes the way they look at football collectively with the majority is misguided.
So you don't think the Los Angeles Police Department, the entire department, was out to frame O.J. Simpson?
I probably do not. No, it doesn't seem likely to me.
Do you think it's just baked-in assumptions? This baked-in assumption that the SEC is awesome? I mean, is there anything else that explains why South Carolina was 13th in the preseason AP poll before they went 4-8, or why Florida, who hasn't been good for a decade, was 15th before they went 4-8?
Yeah, and there's other. Yes, the answer to that is yes.
Ninth,
Yeah.
and they went 7-5 and fired their coach.
Yeah. Now on LSU particularly, I don't blame the miscalculations of LSU football. I do not blame on the prognosticators. I blame it on LSU. They have a good thing down there, and if they screw it up, that's not on us. That's on them. Now, South Carolina, probably so. People are excited. They had the quarterback returning. They finished strong last year. But the one thing we got, guys, is these big conferences and the scheduling discrepancies.
Mm-hmm.
Like the most overrated team in America is A&M.
Yep.
There's not any question about that. If you haven't studied their conference schedule, I don't have it in front of me, for crying out loud. But I looked up the numbers. Let's see. You play at 64, so I think this is right. Texas A&M's 8 conference opponents this year had a conference record of 19-45. They played one team that has a winning record in conference. That was Texas, and Texas beat them. They played one team that was 500, Missouri. They went 4-4. LSU went 3-5. Then they played a whole bunch of. They played Arkansas 0-8. They played Mississippi State 1-7. They played Auburn 1-7. They played
South Carolina.
I can't remember.
South Carolina 1-7. Yeah.
They played Kentucky or maybe it was
2-6 Florida. I'm looking at it now.
2-6. There you go. 2-6 Florida. They literally played the worst 5 teams in the league, and one of the top 8. I mean, that's where things get screwy, and so preseason prognostications are going to mean less and less than what we've been used to relying on, and frankly, NIL and free agency means we got this brave new world on all this stuff. So, we're going to see teams. We've seen it in the Big 12 last year with Arizona State. Nobody, they were picked last. This year, people thought Tech would be good. Nobody knew they were going to be this good. So it's a crazy, crazy case. But so that's what I think. I don't believe that. I believe that we're tying last tradition-long or decades-long traditions, preseason polls, predictions, who's been good. We're tying those to modern situations, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Colorado can stink. Colorado can be good. Colorado can stink in 3 consecutive years. And you say, what's going on? And there's really, Yep. What you find out is that it's not Dion magic. It might have been Shador's magic is what the Sanders magic in Colorado was. So it's great for college football. I think it's great that we have all these up and downs. Utah goes into the Big 12 looking great, has a miserable year, comes back, has a great year. Oklahoma State goes into the Big 12 looking great, has a miserable year, has an even worse year. You don't know. You just don't know. You just don't know.
Barry, we'll leave it right there. We appreciate it as always. Enjoy that Big 12 title game, and we'll talk to you again in a week.
Hey, good luck to the Cougs. That'd be great if they can bring the trophy back.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Stay with us.
This is JJ and Alex. I got this.
If your team is good enough, you're talking about the possibility of a new coach. I did not think that a Kalani Sitake to Penn State conversation would have ever happened in our lifetime. And it's unfortunate because you're focusing on the Big 12 championship. No one else is, though. Everybody else is wondering. They're expecting the team to show up and start to play, but the question is whether or not they can. Here's what you need to take away from it. The only reason you're able to have these conversations right now is because you're living through one of the best moments of BYU football history, but things change. And the question is, are they going to change strange enough to woo Kalani Sitake away from BYU.
How on earth is this a good thing for BYU? This is a good thing for him, but don't say this is a good thing for BYU. It's not. This is a distraction. And it takes a lot for you to say, we need to focus on what we can control. Are you focused on what you can control right now? Because what you're focused on is your discussions with Penn State about what your future is.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 7 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Our Big 12 Championship game coverage brought to you by JCW's, the Burger Boys, quality and a lot of it. BYU. Can they do it? How much is health going to matter? How big a difference is it going to make? That seems to be the number one thing everyone is pointing at. The point spread has dropped from 13.5 to 12.5, PK. Somebody's bet some money on BYU.
I put 5,000 on.
Yeah, okay. Good.
So I was a little late to Christmas party, got back from Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Still, that's a big spread.
It still is, yes. It's enormous.
Just like you attacked that big spread last night.
If only I had. It
And
looked pretty good.
I saw you later.
You did not.
Stuffing stuff in your pockets.
Ha!
How many cupcakes did you take?
Found you sitting behind a post away from everybody. That was the shrimp.
It was good.
Yeah, nice.
Fine time was had by all.
There you go.
Yeah. We walked downstairs because over at the new ballpark on the west side or whatever they call it, America First Square. And there was, they had a little karaoke. You can sing Christmas carols, karaoke style. And there's probably these 4 boys, I'd say around 10 years old, screaming Jingle Bells.
When I walked by there was a mom trying desperately to get the 3-year-old to sing, and the 3-year-old seemed terrified and wanted no part of it. And Dad was there holding up a camera trying to record the magic moment, but it didn't seem like the magic was going to happen.
Ah, well.
I think I would have rather seen the 4 10-year-olds
It was funny.
belting it out.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah. They were just screaming.
What do you hang your hat on if you're BYU? What makes this all better? Because the first time, that was 3 hours of agony.
Oh, I hang my hat on a lot of things. I think that you can, if you want to go negative, which I love to go.
Let's go negative.
that you can't play any worse.
Stop the self-inflicted mistakes.
Yeah.
Texas Tech had nothing to do with you dropping the punt.
No.
Right.
And
then
passes.
Right, yeah. Dropping passes.
Yeah. So just eliminate that stuff and at least should be in competitive game. I'm not saying they're going to win, but don't do stupid stuff.
Don't give them 3, 6, or 10 points.
And the Bear Bachmeier situation now, having gone through it, he's going to be better for it. A-Rod's going to know what they can do, what they can't do against this defense. And so they'll be more prepared. The emotions can't be any higher. Everybody thinks Tech is in. So obviously they want to win the game. You play to win the game. But at the same time, there's only one team that's desperate. Because Texas Tech, you lose this game, but you win a couple playoff games. Which one would you take?
Done.
Well, nah. Yeah. So I think you can go along those lines. You know, you always look for desperation in life. And what do you do about it? A lot of us, at one point or another, it's all relative, but we face desperation. And even if it isn't desperation compared to somebody across town, in your mind it's desperation. What do you do? What do you do when you move your family to Salt Lake City, Utah, and you've got no family now within 600 miles, and 6 weeks into it, the editor takes you in there and says, I think you should look for another job. Huh? That's desperation. And what do you do? What do you do about it?
Try to be good every single day.
I say, bleep you, bleep you, bleep you, be blue. I will never forget this. And I never have. Doesn't mean I don't like them, but I never forgot it. And what do you do? So here in a football sense, that's more of in a life sense, obviously. Hey, what do you do about it? I mean, you got embarrassed. The reason why you're not receiving consideration is because you got smoked. You got humiliated. You got dominated, man. Now, what are you going to do about it?
We had Brian Santiago on earlier this morning. He went straight to L.J. Martin's health because he'd left the Iowa State game, the previous game, with an injury.
Good luck running the ball against Texas Tech.
Right.
Is Gale Sayers healthy? Emmett Smith, Barry Sanders?
It's
Where's
not
Walter Payton when we need
It's
him?
not about who's carrying the ball
Sweetness?
because even those guys are in trouble when they're getting hit behind the line of scrimmage.
Right.
There's got to be a hole to run through and then work your magic.
But you can use L.J. Martin in other ways to make him be effective. I'm not diminishing his importance to the team. It's just that who has been able to run the ball again. It's funny how Utah and BYU couldn't run the ball against Texas Tech, and I have to hear, oh, Devin Dampier was hurt. L.J. Martin was hurt. Come on.
Maybe
Stop.
it's Texas Tech.
Yeah. It's amazing how everybody gets hurt when they're playing Texas Tech or is hurt. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope he runs for 130 yards.
Well, he'll get more than 10 carries, which is what he got in that game.
Sure, and I don't doubt that he was banged up.
And they did throw him the ball in that game.
And he probably shouldn't have been playing.
And I expect we'll see more of that.
But you're
to
dealing
space.
with a veteran coaching staff here. That's the great thing about BYU. You look at their great years. Who did they have on the sidelines? And look at, you need the players on the field, and then look at their somewhat lesser years or even crappy years. Who did they have? You got these guys here. You're running around with a coordinator who's got 20, 30 years experience now, and everybody in his staff does too. There's no young guys in terms of experience, so they've got all this opportunity to create something. Now, I'm just talking about making the game competitive. Mm-hmm. In order to win, you're not going to blow them out. You're going to have to make the game competitive. So get me to that point, and then we'll see. And I think they have an opportunity to get to that point.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, Texas Tech. They have one thing that, well, at least half the playoff field is going to have. At least a third of it, maybe as much as half of it. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Where are you, Bert?
Also known as Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12.
Why isn't he out there talking about his league? Why isn't he pointing out these head-to-head matchups with the ACC? He needs to be out there saying that TCU beat SMU. TCU caught fire at the end of the year. Look at this. He needs to be pointing out that his league is a gauntlet.
He certainly needs to be fighting the ACC bias or whatever we're seeing from
bias.
the ACC that is giving them credit.
Bert needs to be throwing grenades.
Yeah, he should be the guy out there fighting harder than everybody. Again, he should book himself on SportsCenter every night after the college football playoff comes out on Tuesday nights or Wednesday morning. He should be on every morning show talking about how badly his conference is getting the shaft. I know that stuff is annoying. It also works. Being the squeaky wheel would help, especially because the squeaky wheel actually has something to complain about right now.
Catch Jake and Ben weekdays from 10 to noon on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The John Watson Northern Utah High School Players of the Week Award, honoring the top boys and girls prep basketball players this week. Brady Schiffman from Weber High and Boston Greenlaw from Roy High. Schiffman tallied 14 points, 9 rebounds, and a 57-32 win at Roy. Another 15 points in a win at Box Elder, and 14 points and 13 boards in a 25-point blowout win over Cypress. Royals off to a 2-2 start with Greenhall averaging 16.8 points per game, highlighted by a 26-point, 11-rebound double-double and a win over Weber. See why new and used car buyers give John Watson Chevrolet more 5-star reviews than any other Chevy dealer in Utah. John Watson Chevrolet, your 5-star Chevy dealer. PK, why?
Why
Does Kyle Whittingham constantly talk to us about running the ball and stopping the run?
Because it's the most guaranteed path to victory.
The number one team in the nation against the run this year, Texas Tech. 69 yards a game.
Oh, yeah. I know
And
that.
Number 2, undefeated Indiana. Number 4, undefeated Ohio State. Mm-hmm. In between them, apparently playoff-bound Oklahoma.
Yeah.
James Madison, number 5. Well, they got to play their way in here. They got to win their last game.
Dolly's son, yeah.
But if they do, they're in. So that is why we keep hearing that over and over. And solving that problem is problem number 1 for A-Rod right now.
how to block them, how to run the ball at least a little bit. Not going to go out there and run it for 200 yards on him, but
What did the Devils run on him?
that's an excellent question.
You're a stat
Since
boy.
it's the only loss. Let me go check. It'll take a second. Go ahead and tell us something fascinating about these Sun
They threw
Devils.
the ball for over 300 yards that game.
A major plus.
Yeah. So I think that's the pathway.
Here we go.
Now,
Box
you can
score.
use short passes, can be extensions of run games. We all know that.
Yep. But Jordan Tyson, 10 catches, 105 yards. Jaron Hamilton, 3 for 101. They didn't run the ball on him.
Right.
36 carries, 75 yards. Raleek Brown,
Who was a 1,000-yard rusher.
19 carries, 69 yards, 3.6 yards per carry.
And I believe one of them was like a 32-yarder.
22 was his long. 22.
So a third of his running came on one play.
So that means the other 18 carries yielded 47 yards.
Right.
Yeah. And so at 3.6 yards per carry, LJ, even if he's carrying an injury, 3.5. Where he was limited was he only got 10 carries in that game. And we've seen him routinely over 20 carries, both before and after that injury at Iowa State.
Bachmeier's going to have to play well, and he's disrespected. They came out with a Freshman of the Year finalist, and he's not on the friggin' list.
Not even a finalist?
He's not a finalist.
That's ridiculous.
No.
They got 5 other freshmen, and he's not on there.
And 5 other freshmen.
And they got, Joey McGuire, to his credit, he spoke out on this morning. He's like, you don't have Bear Bachmeier on this
5
list?
other freshmen would be that North Texas guy. What's his name?
Mastermaker?
Yeah, he only played 5 games last year.
Red shirt freshman.
Yeah.
So he had the 4 and then the bowl game? Yeah.
Exactly. Julian Sayin, freshman, played 4 games last year. Phenomenal.
So you mix and match.
I mean, and C.J. Carr, Notre Dame, redshirt last year. I mean, get out of my freaking face.
Get no points for the true freshmen, all these redshirt freshmen.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mestermiker, yeah. 26 touchdowns and 4 picks. Great. He played 5 games last year. What is this? Mitchell and Simmons all over again? He redshirted last year. Well, this guy, he redshirted because they don't count. Why don't we just have as many years as you want, guys? Ready, break. You know, we've gone this whole way. Alex Smith made a handoff in like the 3rd or 7th game. Oh my gosh, what is McBride thinking?
There goes a year.
Of course, he doesn't even use the year.
No, he didn't. He left one on the table. He just needed to play 2 essentially, and he was out.
Yeah, it's all this crazy stuff.
Number 1 pick.
And Bachmeier here, you're 11-1, and you still can't even get on the freaking finalists. And you're a first-year freshman who didn't get there until May or June? What the freak? Why don't we just crap on BYU some more? Get over here.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.